Good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, we could do better than that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right. So I'm Rodney Arthur. I'm the principal. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We know families are coming home from work, getting themselves settled. So we get started in a couple of minutes. So glad to see so many students here. So that's great. They got the message, Ms. Borello. All right. So just give it a couple of minutes and we'll get started. All right. Thanks so much. So let me just begin by first starting by thanking Ms. Perello, Mr. Treglia. There's a lot of work that has gone into revising our presentation, also collaboration. And I just want to thank them for the work that they've been doing on behalf of our scholars. You can clap for them. So let me just start by, how many of you participated in the summer college workshop? All right. Hopefully that was something that was meaningful. I want to thank Christina Labella from Manhattanville University, who is here, and you'll hear from her later. And I'll give a little more information about Christina, but she was directly involved in that initiative. So some things just want to begin by sharing with you. So we are committed to really providing our scholars with great opportunities so they can really land a college of their choice. As a father, I've gone through this process twice in the last 3 years. My youngest daughter just started her freshman year at GW, and my middle daughter is in her junior year at Miami University. So not only have I gone through this process as an administrator, but I've gone through it also as a father. And parents, yes, it's stressful, yes, it's time-consuming, but it's part of that joy of being a parent. So let me begin by saying, if you don't have this book, maybe a book you may want to pick up, Who Gets In and Why. So all of the counselors, myself, Dr. Keel, my administrative team, we did a book study, and to get a better sense of some of the latest and research into who gets into colleges and why. That's one of the reasons why you would see a little bit later on, we increased the number of our AP offerings from 12 to now 16 that we offer this year. In the coming year, it wouldn't impact your children, but we're moving from some of our, we're moving into offering some dual enrollment classes, which are not AP level courses, but certainly college courses to give our students more opportunities and to be a little more competitive. And we'll be working with some of the universities so our teachers here can teach some of these college classes in-house. So some other things just to be aware of. If your child is going with us to Boston, please raise your hand. All right, so again, another opportunity. We have 50 students currently registered to go to Boston. And this became, just working with the school counselors, we wanted to constantly think about how can we expose our children to additional things. So we came up with some activities, and Boston University or Boston Trip became one of those opportunities for some of our students who want to go be outside New York or just want to get some sense of what is it like to go to college. So we're confirmed for Boston University, Boston College, and Northeastern. There are a number of parents who've inquired, but at this point, the list is complete, and there's unfortunately no more room. We have a group of students that are also going to Fordham University. That's coming up at the end of the month. So it's a junior class trip. However, if there are any seniors that are really interested in Fordham, please tell them to see Mr. Treglia or Ms. Perello as soon as possible because there are limited seats. Only 30 seats are available. In March, we're taking students to Binghamton University again. That's March 17th. So if there are any seniors who are really leaning towards Binghamton, that'll be a trip that you definitely want to go on because you'll get a special orientation by the admission counselors there. I'm a graduate of Binghamton, so there's a special relationship. So please, if your child is interested in Binghamton, please have them register for that trip so more information is coming out. You're going to hear this. We're going to be starting College Cafe soon. Information will be coming out in my newsletter this week. College Cafe is underutilized. It's a great opportunity for students to work with the school counselors on college-related things. I can't stress to you, especially as a parent who's gone through this process, I didn't have access to a college cafe for my children. Please encourage your scholars to utilize that time. It occurs once a week, right, during their lunch period. they really need to take advantage of College Cafe. So I just want to stress that. Other announcements. So there's a college fair. Last year we were not able to participate in the Eastchester College Fair. This year there's a change. So on October 21st, it was in the newsletter, there is the college fair that's being hosted by Pelham High School, and it involves Tuckahoe, Eastchester, and Pelham. The event is at 7 o'clock, and again, our students are absolutely expected to attend, and they're going to be probably close to 100 college reps there. So it's a great opportunity, and you should attend also. Okay? Is there registration for that? No registration, so please take advantage of that. One other thing that we're working on now, it's still in developmental stage, but we're getting close to it. So when we first returned to school, we started talking about what are some other things that we can do right now for our current senior class. So one of the things that we're working on with 4 universities is setting up an appointment time where our scholars can meet with college reps to have their college essays be reviewed and get immediate feedback. So that's something that we're working on because we think right now that's going to probably be one of the more meaningful things to get feedback on a college essay. So more information to come on that, and we're looking to get that done before the end of the month because November 1st will be here before we know it. So that's something that's coming up. So Christina, Christina LaBella is the Director of Admissions at Manhattanville University. Ms. LaBella brings a vast knowledge of college admissions. She has worked at St. Bonaventure University and Johnson & Wales prior to working at Manhattanville University. And she was also our keynote speaker in August. So one of the things that we're trying to do differently is partner more and more with universities. Manhattanville has really extended an invitation to us, letting us know they want to do a whole lot more with us. So we have invited Christina. Christina, you'll hear from a little bit later on. And again, we're looking forward to Manhattanville University being part of that initiative where they're going to be reviewing students' college essays and giving them immediate feedback. We just think that's very important. And like I said, as a dad who's gone through that, I think that's going to be very valuable for our scholars. All right? So just to move the presentation along. So our scholars know this quote, "Do something for yourself today that your future self will thank you for." So just being here, that's one of those. Taking advantage of College Cafe, another. Because I could tell you this, one of the things that we're trying to promote with our students is as follows. We want them to be able to have choice, not have decisions made for them. What do I mean by that? Well, what they do now, the classes that they take, how well they do, is extremely important for that whole college application process, right? I'm sure Christina can speak to this. We know that top-tier universities, there are 3 things that account for about 75% of their decision-making in terms of who gets in. What classes they take, how well they do in those classes, and how well they do in the ACT, SAT, right? That accounts for about 75% of a college admissions counselor's decision, all right? I encourage you to read this book, Who Gets In and Why. So, again, one of the reasons why we expanded our AP offerings. So, what our scholars do now matters more than ever. At the end of the month, extra help is going to be opening up. We tell students, don't wait till classes get a little bit challenging. Take advantage of the extra help from now. Why? Because that may be one of your teachers you may need to go to, right, to get a college recommendation letter. It's important. On that same note, one of the things that we're working on right now, we have committed from Fordham University. We have Fordham University coming in October 2nd, to do a workshop with our teachers on writing recommendation letters fitted to universities. So we saw that as a need, as a team, and that's something that we have put together so our entire high school staff would get information, get some training on how to write college essays that the universities are looking for. So that's another initiative that we've put into place. Our commitment is giving your scholars what they need so they can get into college of choice. So the decisions that they make, classes to take, being involved in extracurricular. You're going to hear me talk a little bit soon about junior achievement, volunteering. All those things matter because the college and universities want to know what kind of person are you? Not just how well you're doing classes, but who are you outside of taking classes? All that matters. So we want to give them as many opportunities as possible so that they can shine. So again, members of our leadership team, they're no strangers to any of you. So Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement was started last year. We brought it to Tuckahoe to provide our students with additional opportunities for leadership, additional opportunities where they can get the experience of what it's like to teach and be able to add Junior Achievement to their vita. Junior Achievement is the partnership between, at least here, it's a partnership between us and Cotto, where we have our seniors. They're trained for a 2-day session by a Junior Achievement rep, and in the spring, they go to Cotto and they provide instruction support to students from grades 1 through grades 4 on financial literacy. And like I said, it's a great opportunity for our students to earn, again, community service hours, but also to get that experience. Junior Achievement is a national organization and it's respected. So again, there's more information coming up with Junior Achievement, so just keep on the notice for that. So my role has been limited by the school counselors, so this is where I end, but let me just end by saying, live this quote. Live this quote. The things that you do, from the weekends, the events you go to, the parties, right? One of the workshops that Manhattanville University worked with us over the summer was creating a digital footprint, right? Visiting universities, visiting their websites, showing that interest, that demonstrated interest. But on top of that, be mindful of what you post on social media. Be mindful of what's on Facebook. Universities are pretty savvy. They are checking your social media profile. So it's extremely important that you're careful what you post on social media. So just stressing the importance of do things today that your future self will thank you for, right? And just keep in mind what happens outside of school also matters. So again, I want to thank school counselors. There's more to come. There's a lot of great initiatives that we're moving forward. And again, we're here to serve. All right, so without any further, I turn it over to Mr. Truglia.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Senior Parent Night. In your folder, you will see a copy of tonight's presentation. You will also see a copy of information on the college fairs that Mr. Arthur spoke about, dates, times, and location. You will also see a list of colleges that are visiting Tuckahoe High School. We have colleges coming into our school to meet with the students, to talk about what their university offers and what we offer as a school, and the students are able to ask questions, get to know the reps further, and understand the admissions process of that particular college. That is also updated on the Naviance account. It's updated daily, and we have more colleges coming in every day. You know, we're preparing our students to be successful in the college process. There's an organized plan that we have. We'll be starting shortly with our senior meetings, which we'll speak to in a moment. But students here at Tuckahoe High School are successful in the college process. The colleges know about our school. They know about its intimacy. They know that it's a special school, a small environment, a family environment, and that we're growing. Our advanced placement classes are growing. Our activities are growing. We're outreaching to more and more colleges every day. So be confident, ask questions, and please sign up for the meetings, which we'll talk about in a moment, which are starting in about a week. One of the places where you can find a lot of information is our school counseling website. If you go to Tuckahoe High School's main page and you scroll down to the bottom where there's quick links, you'll see the guidance tab. On the guidance tab on the left-hand side, you'll find a lot of helpful information. Some examples are the school profile, the Naviance account, the scholarship bulletin, the course catalog, and much more. So to all the students and the families, get comfortable with our website. If you have any questions, please reach out. But there's a lot of questions that could be answered by just looking on our website. And on the left-hand side, as you can see, we have a list of all of tabs and things that we use here to help the students in the college process. As I mentioned, our individual senior meetings will be starting next week, Monday, September 16th. Ms. Nicoletto sent out a sign-up genius this week for you to register. If you haven't gotten that email, or you don't know if you got that email, please feel comfortable in reaching out to us tomorrow. We're happy to schedule a meeting for you, or resend the sign-up genius to everyone. It's important, and we encourage everyone in the class to schedule a senior meeting so that you can meet with the counselors, family, student in the room, go over your list, go over any questions you have about the Common Application, about SAT, ACT test dates, about writing your personal essay, about how to link Naviance to Common App, about asking a teacher for a letter of recommendation. There's a lot going on. So we really encourage you to sign up for a meeting. We'll have them all throughout September and October. It's a great time to start that process with your school counselor. One of the goals of the meeting is to really finalize the student's college list and to have a timeline on when the applications are due and how we're going to get there, and have everything ready to go. So this is important that the students take advantage of this opportunity. Come to the meeting with a small list. If you can, remember your Naviance and Common App password, and be comfortable asking questions. Maybe prepare some questions before the meeting. I know there's a lot of discussions going on in the family right now in your house. Those aren't always easy discussions. There could be a little stress. So that's normal. It's normal to feel a little stressed during the college process, right? It's exciting, but it could be stressful. So use the school counselors, use our experience, and let's work together to make this a great experience for all. One of the things we use is a student college application checklist, which is in your folder. It's in the PowerPoint. This is a step-by-step approach, a monthly approach to really the end of junior year, the summer months, and then the fall and the winter. On the checklist, it helps you keep track of what's going on monthly and what you should be doing as a student or a family to feel comfortable in the process and to meet all the deadlines. We'll be talking about this again in our individual meetings. You can also see it in the PowerPoint today. Maybe something to put on the fridge as a reminder daily for where the students should be during the process, September, October, and November. We're seeing a trend more and more. More students in Tuckahoe, Westchester County, and nationwide are applying early action or early decision. It's right around the corner, right? November 1st, November 15th are right around the corner. Some colleges is October 15th is early. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is October 15th. So it's around the corner. So right now is the time to take advantage of this and to be proactive in the process. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Perillo right now.
Okay, I'm going to go over the different pieces of the application, and again, in our individual meetings, we are going to tailor this specifically to your student, but currently, everybody should have asked 2 teachers for letters of recommendation. We spoke about this at the end of last year, and you have to also officially ask them through Naviance. If anybody is having trouble doing that, they are welcome to come down and see us, and we can walk you through that process as well. The teachers will upload their letters of recommendation once they're written to Naviance, and students will all waive their right to view these letters of recommendation. So you're saying you're okay with your teacher writing it, but you're never going to be able to read it, and that is what all schools do. And I will then send your letters of recommendation directly to the schools you're applying to. okay? So typically, our recommendation is to ask teachers that know you the best. The admissions counselors want to see what you are like as a student in the classroom, and the teachers that know you the best are best able to write that letter. You are requesting letters of recommendation through Naviance, not the Common Application. So if you have already started filling out the Common Application, there also is a letter of recommendation section there. You do not need to fill that out. In some rare situations, or if a student has, let's say they've danced their whole lives and they're applying to a dancing program and they want an outside recommender, you can ask them through Common App. If that is your situation, I'm happy to show you how to do that, but everything else is done through Naviance. The college essay. So our students work closely with both the counselors and our English department in regards to the college essay. Again, we spoke about this at the end of last year, but the college essay, hopefully at this point there's some sort of a rough draft written. We are happy to review and read them with you to get another set of eyes on it. We are beginning College Cafe shortly. Like we said, it will be on Tuesdays during lunch. A lot of students come in, and that's a great time for us to take a look at it. You can also just share us in if it's a Google Doc, and when we have time throughout our day, we can take a look as well. Usually the advice I give is to have a few people read them, but not too many, because this is your college essay, right? And you don't want too many opinions, and it needs to reflect who you are as a person, and so the college can understand that. Miss Iverson is our senior English teacher. She will have individual conferences with every senior to review and go over the college essay. She'll look at all of the grammar, and she'll edit it, and she'll give you some help also if she has any tips for you as well. The college essay, like I said, is really important, but a lot of schools also are asking for supplemental essays. So supplemental essays are additional essays or short answer questions that colleges are asking for. So I find that this is one of the more time-consuming pieces. Some schools don't require any supplements, but typically the more competitive the college, the more supplements you have. And these are just as time-consuming as your college essay. They have to be just as perfect. And again, we are happy to review and help you maybe come up and brainstorm together with what you want to talk about. Every school is different. Just make sure you know ahead of time that there are supplements, and there's a way to view it in the Common App, and we will show you that in our individual meetings. But you can view which colleges do require the supplements and which do not. Application deadlines and admissions types. We told all students that they should begin the Common Application. We hope everybody registered and made an account by this point. The Common Application is the website we use to actually apply to all of our colleges. You can list up to 20 colleges on the Common App. The Common App connects to Naviance, so any school you add to the Common App will then be reflected in your Naviance account, right? So it's all connected together, and we can send our documents from Naviance once we know that you've submitted something from the Common Application. The Common Application is wonderful because it has a common section that you don't need to fill out over and over. You fill it out once, and it automatically gets sent to all of the schools on your list. And then you're going to go school by school and answer their specific questions and write specific supplements or short answer questions. You can apply to the colleges on different days. It doesn't all need to be done at once. So you can work on one application and submit it, and the next day work on another one. So you don't have to do all of them at the same time. So I would say the Common App is the most frequently used application. In some cases, the school does not use the Common App, and in those situations, you would use their private application, and you would just go onto their website, and usually there's a button that says, follow this for our application, and you'll fill out an individual application as well. CUNY, the City University of New York, does not use the Common Application, so that is also another website that you would have to use, another application that our students would commonly use. There are a few other ones, but for the time being, Common App is really the place where you will submit most of your college applications. Deadlines and admissions types. So this is one of the more important pieces of this year. Like Mr. Treglia said, some of the first application deadlines are October 1st or 15th. We're obviously in September already, so everything's coming and it's coming fast. And I would say, I think last year, over 80% of our senior class applied early action or early decision. So most of our senior class, by the time it's November, December, have submitted their college applications. Why is this beneficial? Early action is beneficial because you're applying early, which means the colleges have the opportunity to look at your applications earlier. You find out earlier in your senior year whether or not you've been accepted. You have the ability to compare your offers from different schools and go take another trip and see what you like or don't like. When you apply early action, it does not increase your chances of getting into a school, but like we always say, the earlier the better, and there's more money available, there's more space available at the school, so we will encourage you to do it as well, but we only want you to submit your application if it's ready to go and 100% perfect. So we will help you do that, but yes, there is a time crunch, and all the seniors, you'll see, and you probably saw it last year, but this time of year, September, October, there's literally seniors with their Chromebooks in our office all day long, in between classes at lunch, so we are here to help. You just have to come and see us. Early decision, we touched on this a little last year as well, but early decision is a binding process. Not all schools offer early decision. You are signing a waiver that says if you get into the school, you have to attend. You can only apply to one school early decision. The advantage to early decision is that your chances of getting in increase. An example of this is Northeastern University. So when students applied early decision, the acceptance rate was 33% compared to students who applied regular decision, and their acceptance rate was 7%. So it significantly, in some schools, can significantly increase your chances. Another example is BU. They had 26% acceptance rate early decision and 9% acceptance rate regular decision. So if your family is considering early decision, we are happy to work with you and talk about it. You have to be ready to commit on a few fronts. Financially, it can be a burden for some families as well, but we're happy to talk you through that process if you're considering it. Rolling admissions just means as soon as you apply, colleges will shortly thereafter look at your application, so as soon as you turn it in, they'll take a look at it. And then regular decision, those deadlines are not until later in the winter. Again, most of our students, like we said, apply earlier, but some schools don't have early action or early decision, so in that case, you would apply regular decision. We have a sheet which we'll talk about in a second, but whenever a student applies to a college, they need to inform us at least a week before the deadline. When you submit an application, your end is submitted, but your application is not considered complete until we send everything from our end as well. So the colleges will put those two together, and then your application will be considered complete. We need more than 12 hours to submit that, so make sure you plan accordingly and let us know. There's a sheet you're going to fill out. Mr. Treglio will talk about that, but we just need to make sure that's to us a week before the deadline. Naviance, so everybody should be familiar with Naviance at this point. It's a wonderful way, we used it in our junior meetings, it's a wonderful way for us to tell whether a school is a safety, target, or reach school. Hopefully, at this point, we have narrowed down our list of schools to schools that you actually want to apply to. Within that list of schools, we want safety, target, and reach schools. And we can always look on Naviance to see where you're at academically, to see whether it's a safety, target, or reach. That graph, which we've talked about before, shows all of the students in the past from Tuckahoe who have applied to that specific school. In this case, this is Marist. The green are students who've applied and been accepted. The red X's are students who've applied and been denied, and then the blue is waitlisted or deferred. The corner of that graph gives you the average accepted student. So it's comparing two things. It's talking about your GPA and your SAT score. So in this case, Marist has an average accepted GPA of a 3.57 and an SAT score of a 1210. So you can compare your GPA and your SAT to that the college is looking for. Our job is to submit your transcript to the schools, your letters of recommendation from your teachers, our school profile, and there's the school profiles in this folder you have this evening, and In addition to your teacher letters, we as guidance counselors write you a third letter of recommendation as well. So we will electronically send those to all of the schools, and then your application will be considered complete. The transcript that we're sending will have your current list of classes you're taking this year. So we have the cutoff date to add or drop any course is September 20th. The reason we have this date is because we need your whole schedule ironed out before we send it out to all of the schools. I think you're up.
One thing that could be helpful as we're writing the letters of recommendation is the parent brag sheet. So just a friendly reminder, if you haven't submitted the parent brag sheet, you can bring it to the senior college meeting. You can email it to us. It would be helpful to get that as we're starting to write the letters of recommendation and finalize our letters of recommendation. But some important reminders talking about SAT and ACT. You need to send your SAT score from your College Board account. The school counselors do not submit the SAT score. The student submits the SAT score from your College Board account. You go to the SAT score page and you select the colleges that you'd like to send your score to. Yes, you can go test optional, 100%. Many colleges accept test optional applications. But if you are going to send your scores, it's your responsibility to send it from the SAT website or the College Board website, as well as the ACT scores. You go to the ACT, log into My ACT account, and select the college you'd like to send the score to, and make sure you send it to that school if you're sending the SAT or ACT. Paying for college, this is a big one, right? The first thing I'll say is that we're going to combine with Eastchester for our financial aid night. The date is not out there yet. It will be, generally, it's in October, second or third week of October. We've communicated with Eastchester. They just haven't sent us the date yet. We did have in our summer program from Manhattanville University, Director of Financial Aid was here speaking on the financial aid piece. We do have it on our YouTube page. It's something to look at because it was well done and can give you some information on the financial aid piece before October, mid-October, when Eastchester and Tuckahoe will combine for our financial aid night. There are a lot of ways to earn scholarship for college. One is merit aid. Merit aid is based on your academics, extracurricular activity, or athletics. It's not need-based. The college can can offer it to you based on academics, extracurricular, or athletics. Merit aid is aid you don't have to pay back. It's given to you by the college. They want to entice you to come to their school. So they do that by maybe offering some merit aid. It also can be used when you have all of your packages, maybe to compare and then to go back to the colleges that you're really interested in and share some information on maybe your merit aid, and maybe a college will come and meet you halfway, or where your aid of a particular college says you might be. So for example, if you were getting X amount of dollars from a school in Pennsylvania, but you really wanted to go to a school in Connecticut, I won't say any names, you can use that package from the Pennsylvania school and kind of show it to the Connecticut school and see if they'll get a little closer to where you want to be. At Tuckahoe, we have a scholarship bulletin. It's on our webpage. It's updated really every week by Ms. Nicoletos. Really, the time to look for scholarships are after your applications are done. Right now, we should be focusing on doing our applications and getting those submitted. A lot of our students are going to be doing early action, so those are going to be in November. Once you do that, the next step would be to look for some scholarship opportunities. You can look on the scholarship bulletin now. We have some up there. More will be added. But the time to really start applying for scholarships and doing the applications are December, January, February, March. There's a lot of local scholarships and money out there for our students. It just is, are you going to complete the application? Are you going to do it timely? And are you going to put a little extra effort in to separate yourself on maybe the essay or any other part of the application where you can be granted the fund? All right, so as we move forward, January, February, March definitely is the time to look for some scholarship opportunities. If anyone has a question, please come to our office, and we're happy to show you some scholarships that our students have gotten in the past, or any new scholarships that we hear of and we put on the bulletin as well. There is a Excelsior Scholarship for SUNY students or CUNY students that our state has granted us. If your income is $125,000 or less and you're going to attend a SUNY school or a CUNY school, you will go tuition for free. So the SUNY schools have become very popular and more competitive in the last few the last few years. So if you're going to look at a SUNY school, I would again encourage you to visit, encourage you to have demonstrated interest, and encourage you to go to the SUNY fair so that you can meet the SUNY reps and so you can make that connection. Some financial aid that we should talk about are loans, grants, and work studies. We want to talk about the FAFSA. The FAFSA has been maybe a little stressful for students, families, and counselors in the last 12 months. The FAFSA was updated last year. It came out a lot later than the families last year had hoped for. Right now, they're saying it's going to be running December 2024. I think Christina might speak to that a little bit later. We're hopeful for December 2024, but let's prepare if that doesn't happen. There's also another, it's important, I would suggest everybody apply for the FAFSA, all families. All they can do is say no, but you never know what aid you might be granted. It could be a work study, or it could be a grant from the federal government. Every little bit counts. There's also something called the CSS profile, which is really, a number of schools use that, but not as much as the FAFSA. And it's really just about institutional aid. So some schools who have the CSS profile, they'll offer institutional aid. It's not federal aid, it's really from their university. So we can talk about that more in our individual meetings. And again, the financial aid night with Eastchester will be in October. We'll get you the date. Right now, we're looking at our college application processing form. One appeared on my desk today. So we had one student who put his application form on my desk today. As Ms. Perillo mentioned, all students, when they're applying to schools, you can send your application through Common App, but you need to let the counselors know that this has been done. So you need to fill out a college application processing form. You can get that in our office anytime. It's an orange form. Just ask. Right. Just ask either of us, Ms. Nicolettos, we'll give you the form. You can put more than one college on the form. All you have to do is have your parent or guardian sign it. You put the date, early action, early decision, regular decision. Check off what colleges you're applying to. Please write them down on the right-hand side if there's more than one. And then that alerts us that you've applied, and it's our job now to send your information to those colleges on the processing form. It's also a good idea after you apply to a school to contact them about 2 weeks after to make sure that they have all your information. Because there's going to be lots of applications at these colleges, and you want to make sure that they have your information. If they don't have it, it's time to talk to your counselor. Say, hey, I applied to this school. They don't have our information. Can we work together on this and make sure they have it? All right, so this is one of the most important slides of tonight for our students, is to get comfortable with the application processing form. We'll talk about that more in our individual meeting. The College Cafe, as Mr. Arthur mentioned, this is a club run by Ms. Perillo and myself. It will meet on Tuesdays after lunch. We are starting on, during lunch, we were starting on September 17th, Tuesday. So we encourage everyone to attend. We're there to work on the Common App with you, your personal essay, just talk about how things are going for you, highs and lows. You don't even have to, you can come to the office anytime. It could be during your free. It could be after school. We're here to work with you, but the College Cafe is a special time on Tuesdays during lunch just for the seniors to come in the fall and work with us. It's just additional support toward the college process, and I'm sure everyone can use that during this time. In the spring, the College Cafe is open to the junior students who'll start working on their resume, talking about their college list, talking about SAT, ACT sign-up, and talking about what they can do in the summer to kind of make their application well-rounded and going into the summer months. But right now, the College Cafe is for our 12th graders, so please take advantage of it. Spread the word. Sometime Ms. Perillo and I are in the hallway trying to encourage you to come to the College Cafe. So don't run away. We want you to come to the cafe. It could be 20 minutes. You can come for 20 minutes and then you can leave. But I think it's a great opportunity, and you really can get a lot of work done then.
There are two major college fairs coming up. Like Mr. Arthur said, we're working with Pelham and Eastchester. The advantage to working with other schools is that a lot of different colleges are willing and able to come because they get a chance to see all different students. So we talked a little bit last year about demonstrated interest. You are trying to show these schools that you're interested and that you're putting in the time, you're taking visits, you're meeting the admissions counselors, and the college fair is a perfect place to do this, so we would highly encourage you to go. That's October 21st at Pelham Middle School in their gym. And then there's the Southern Westchester College Fair, and that's at the Westchester County Center, and that is the next night, unfortunately. So, but that tends to be more crowded. Schools from and students and families from all over Westchester go, but it is still a good opportunity. You can probably look up the list of schools that will be there to check if there are any on your list. But again, just introducing yourself to the admissions counselors at those tables are a great idea. Those admissions counselors are usually the ones that are actually reading your application, so it's a great idea to get to know them. And just another brief moment for our trips. Again, the Boston trip is coming up. For a lot of our seniors are signed up, so that's a great opportunity just to check out some campuses and see what they're like. And in the spring, there's Binghamton. So if there's, that's for juniors, but if there's anybody that's really serious and wants, who's a senior that is really considering Binghamton, we're happy to take you as well. Just let us know. I am now going to welcome Christina Labella. She's the Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Manhattanville University, and she's going to give us a little sneak peek into the other side of things. So thank you for coming and welcome.
Hi, good evening. This is now my third time at Tuckahoe High School. I came once last year in the fall. I came this summer. I came now. I was like telling your counselors, I was like, I feel like I just know where I'm going. I could just come work here. As Principal Arthur said, I've worked at a couple of different institutions. Currently, I am at Manhattanville University. We just became a university last spring. I recognize some faces from the summer, so it's nice to see you all here. I have worked at Division I schools, Division III schools, Division II schools. My husband was in higher education for a long while, now is in a different career, so I have a lot of experience with different types of schools and what different types of schools are looking for. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about that. We talked a lot about demonstrated interest today, and I also want to mention that definitely take a look at the video that's on the website on YouTube. We talked a lot about what you should be doing this fall, how you can pay for school. It's a lot of great information, and the nice thing for those of you that didn't come is that you can watch it at your leisure, as opposed to all of us that were here in the summer that got to sit through it, so you can always fast forward. But there were some great questions that were asked, very thoughtful questions, and then also some really good information. And we also have the PowerPoint, so if you do watch it and you're looking for that, I know that your counselors will be able to send that to you. So again, making connections at fairs, finding ways to connect with your counselor. If you reach out and you applied early action or you applied regular decision, that's a demonstrated interest, right? So don't worry about that if you're already starting to do that. If you're meeting them at a fair because you're really interested in maybe 4 or 5 schools, that's demonstrated interest. Making sure that you fill out the little cards that we have, that's demonstrated interest, right? So I don't want you to be worried so much about, oh my gosh, am I going on the website a certain number of times? Am I, reaching out to them a certain number of times? What we are looking for is not just the number of times, but how those connections have made a lasting impact, right? And just so you all know, every college, just like you have a file here, every college is going to start a file for you. Some of us will have received your information because you came to a college fair as a junior. Some of us are able to get your information because you participated in PSATs or in SATs, and we can start to get some of your names because maybe you fit a profile that we're looking at, maybe your score hit within our range. So we may already have a file started for you, but I don't want you to be like, oh my God, these people are weird because they know about this. We want to make sure that we know you and that your counselors know you because they're reading your application. And then as you get further down, after you're admitted, right, after you're starting to dwindle down your list based on financial aid packages, based on visits, all of those notes that your counselor has made are going to help because maybe you have very specific interests or questions and we can then connect you to a faculty member. Or maybe you've shared something financial with us. Well, now we can go talk to financial aid and student accounts and help you figure out the best path to afford college and your education. So those, I don't want anyone to get nervous about the file. That is more so that we can help you. And that's really the crux of what we're doing in admissions. Yes, we're reading your application. Yes, we're seeing if you're going to be a good fit. Yes, we're assessing if your academics is going to be able to fit with how you're being taught, or that you're not going to be overmatched in a certain situation, but we're also there to make sure that we're helping you. And that's the part about finding the right fit, both on our end and your end, that is going to be fruitful for everybody. And we kind of talked about all of that. The last bit of advice, because I do want to encourage you to watch the videos, because we really were thoughtful. It was Manhattan University was here with us, as well as Iona University, so there was a good number of us that were here, is that do not be afraid, and these are really for the seniors that are here, and parents, but don't be afraid to like a school that maybe your friends are not interested in. Don't be afraid to go somewhere that someone else is not going to. Or don't feel peer pressured to feel like you have to go really far away or stay really close, right? It's a very individual process. You're all gonna talk about it, you're all gonna share it, right? But at the end of the day, you are making an investment in your future, not just your education, but your future career. I chose a school that was 4 hours away. It happened to be my parents' alma mater. I was like, there's no way I'm going to go there. I'm not going to follow in their footsteps. My parents are very successful attorneys. Why I thought that was not going to be a great fit is beyond me, but I went and visited, and now I feel like I'm in a very successful career. I'm grateful for my education. You know, I took out loans to do that, but it was an investment in my future self, just like Principal Arthur said before. You know, thank your future self for the decisions that you make today. And that is really what you're doing. Every day this year, during your senior year, during your college search process, that is what you're doing. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I am happy to answer some of these because I think that these are probably questions that come up. How many schools should you apply to? I think that's a really personal question. Maybe there are 5 schools, maybe there are 3. My suggestion is I wouldn't go over 10. And honestly, when I was going through school, 5 was, people are like, don't go over 5. But so much is automated now. It's going to be hard for you to keep track of too many. Also, sometimes we get decision fatigue, right? Like sometimes it's like, oh my God, now we have so many decisions. Now we have so many things. And remember, if you apply to 5 schools and you get into 4, and now maybe you don't love the 4 and it's January or it's March, there's still time, and your counselors will be happy to walk you through that. So don't worry about that. That's my biggest suggestion on that. We talked a lot about how a candidate can stand out. I think you're going to talk a lot about that with your counselor. I think if you watch that, I'm putting a big plug for that summer conference. But we talked a lot about that. The students that did go to the workshops I think, had a really great experience and were able to figure out how to make your essay stand out. So those of you who weren't able to make it, talk to your friends that did go to that, because I think they really got a lot out of it. Testing is a funny situation right now, and we talked a lot again in August about that. If there is any school on your list that is not test optional, you should take the test, because you don't want to not have the test if it's required. Some schools that have been test optional in the past 4 or 5 years have changed to requiring the test again because the pandemic had changed it, and now the pendulum is swinging back to requiring it. So you need to be very mindful about what the requirements are for each school. The nice thing is, in most schools, we have it listed straight out. It's also typically listed straight on the Common App as you look at our little profiles on Common App. It's also listed out in Naviance. You know, each college has their profile that they're supposed to keep up, so you should be able to find it. Keeping a little spreadsheet. Don't be like me. I like write notes all over everything, but sometimes that's just how my brain works. But just make sure you are aware of what the requirements are. And I talked a little bit about this again in August, but how has admission changed? So in the 14 years that I've been in higher education and college admissions, it has changed a lot. And so any of you that have had students that have gone through the process maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I really encourage you to make sure that you are meeting with your counselor and following up, because a lot of it has changed in terms of, again, the testing, how your students are submitting their applications. Nothing is paper. Everything is through Naviance, through Common App. You know, some of our schools are SCORE schools. So making sure you're aware of that. The other thing that has changed is the FAFSA. You used to have to go on and fill it out. And parents, if you have done this, you know that you had a lot of questions to complete. And now the nice thing is that you have fewer questions, and it connects to your federal taxes, which is how it pulls in the information. Every student that applies for the FAFSA and goes through FAFSA will qualify for federal student loans. They typically have the best interest rates. They typically are the ones that are being talked about as being loan forgiveness. They're not talking about the private loans, right? So my suggestion is you are going to have some skin in the game. It's really an unrealistic expectation that you're going to be able to go to school without some sort of loan or payment that you're going to have to do, whether it's, you know, a loan option to help cover, or it's a payment plan while you're in school. But that's the best option, in my opinion, to take first before you go to a private loan. I'm going to share something that I've noticed this year, which is interesting to me, is that students are, and not Tuckahoe students, just students in general that we have, students are declining their federal loans and then going and getting like the private loan and covering what they need outside the federal. Please don't do that. We typically advise our students to not do that, but we can't make them. But I think everyone's thinking, well, I'll just consolidate my loans now. That's not how it works. So don't do that. Don't try to get one loan. Hopefully, and we can always come back and talk about that. I think you'll have a much smoother experience with the FAFSA this year, to be very honest. They had some kinks that they needed to work out. They've been working on them. I'm much more optimistic, I think, than my financial aid and student account counterparts, because I'm in admissions and we prefer to be a little bit more positive in our outlook, but I do anticipate that it will open on time, and I do anticipate that it will be a smoother process. So if anybody was talking to their senior friends last year, that was a very stressful experience for them. What is our time? Because I wanted to open up to some questions.
Let us know who the questions are after to, but if anybody has anything specific.
I can, do you want me to walk around? Oh, you can, do you?
I have two questions that are connected to the same idea, but for the schools that are saying that they are test optional, and my son is all gung-ho for only test optional schools where he does not have to turn in any test scores. How fair is it really when the schools look at it? Does he really get looked at in the same arena as everybody that turns in an SAT score? Do they have like a pool of kids that are test optional versus the ones that are SAT? And added to that question, when you were showing on Naviance that graph that shows like the GPA connected to the SAT score, how do we look at that if he's test optional?
I'll speak to the Naviance piece. So the only data that Naviance can provide us is the GPA, and Christina can answer the other question. But from our perspective, if you do not submit your SAT scores, they're looking at other things, probably more magnified than they would have, right? So they're focusing more on those letters of recommendation or your college essay. So I think, or extracurricular activities, something that you've done that's a little outside of the box. So if you're not providing that piece of data, they're looking at all of the other pieces of data in a greater way. Christine, I don't know if you have anything to add.
So there's also a piece that some schools are test blind, meaning if they're test optional, they may not even consider the test score for scholarships. Some test optional schools will use it as a piece of their pie for figuring out what you qualify for merit scholarships. If they're saying they're test optional for admission, though, they're not putting that in their equation. Hopefully you're only submitting it if it's really good. If you're test optional, that would be my suggestion. If they're test optional and you don't have a great SAT or ACT score, let's not submit it because they aren't requiring it. We don't look at it because we're test blind, so you can submit it. We're required to submit it by the federal government for some of our data sets. If it is submitted, but because we have such a low number of students that submit it, it's, I think, about a quarter of our students that enrolled this year submitted it. So we don't use it because we've really taken that test optional and said, that's not something that we find. What we're looking at is the recommendation letter. I'm looking at what classes you decided to take, both leading up to your senior year and during your senior year. If I am noticing that maybe you decided to relax a little bit, that may, in terms of what options you have your senior year, I may be like, I wonder if they are ready. So that's something I'm looking at. Your college essay then is a big piece of it. So making sure that it is clean of grammatical errors and clean to read is important, especially because we are not having that additional piece.
And we're happy to sit down and assess with you whether or not you want to submit them. And like we said, there are some schools you can choose to hold it and other ones that you may want to send it to depending on what their average SAT or ACT score is.
There was someone else.
Thanks. I think you mentioned when you are submitting the SAT scores that you have to submit them through College Board, and that's 2 weeks before you actually submit on the Common App.
So this is
I'm
where
so
it gets
confused.
confusing. Yep. So
Okay.
you can submit your application, but you want to make sure that you officially send your score report through through College Board 2 weeks before their deadline, at least. So the College Board says that even though you're sending it electronically, it can take up to 2 weeks to get there. So you're giving them time to process it, basically. So if you're
What deadline do you mean?
So the college deadline. So if you are submitting them to college XYZ and their deadline is November 1st, you want to send them at least 2 weeks before so that they are officially submitted to the school before that school's specific deadline.
Okay. And then how do you link the Naviance and the Common App if possibly your email's different? Like, how are these talking to each other?
So the common app should be your personal email, and we will walk you through it. Ultimately, you can come down. It's quite a confusing process. You have to sign the FERPA waiver on the Common App first, and then it's basically going to prompt you to then sign into your Naviance account through the Common application. So we usually do it in our individual meetings, assuming that you know both passwords, which isn't always the case. If you forget it or it doesn't work during that meeting, a lot of students will stop by. It takes 5 minutes to do, and we can help each student.
Okay, and last question. In terms of the AP scores, so I know like some schools, for most of them, take that. What if you have a 3 in a very difficult subject and that particular school actually takes it? Do you submit it? Do you not? Because that's considered average? Like, what are your thoughts?
Usually 3, 4, 5, we would recommend submitting unless it's a super, super, super competitive school. Then we would maybe say 4 or 5. But it is another piece of data, and I think it can definitely help. And the AP, you would also have to officially send through College Board, but there is a section in the Common App where you can self-report that AP score as well. Yeah. Anybody? Any students' questions?
I told you, I like work here, right? Here we go.
There's one question that while we have you here, a lot of students, once they apply, want to reach out to admissions after for a variety of reasons. What is your recommendation on the appropriate amount and or reason they should be reaching out after they apply?
Oh, yes, you should. If you have questions about whether you want to, how to visit, if you've received everything, update, or you want to introduce yourself to your counselor, you can, almost every website, every college website, university website has Find Your Counselor on it, and you can type in either your state or your zip code, and you can find your counselor. That's typically who's going to read your application. You can introduce yourself. Maybe you just don't have a question and you just want to say, hey, I'm Christina Labella. I'm really, I'm from Tuckahoe High School. I'm planning to submit my application. I'm planning to visit. You're my top school. And I just wanted to introduce myself to you, and hopefully I can meet you at a college fair or at our school visit. Some of us have the school visits published. You can see who's coming through Naviance. That's a great way. Sometimes they'll be like, maybe they're not going to your school yet. Maybe you can say, are you planning on coming to my school? I'd like to introduce myself personally. Or if they're not, can we set up a phone call or something like that, just so that we all just want to get to know you, right? That's an important piece because, again, like I said, it's about finding a mutually beneficial fit. We want everybody that comes to Manhattanville, or when I worked at Johnson & Wales, or when I worked at St. Bonaventure, to be successful when you get there. We don't want to have it be a poor fit for you and not have you do well. It's not beneficial for your future, and it's surely not beneficial for our future, right? So that's why it's important for us to get to know you. Oh, yeah. Oh, so that's a great question, the legacy. What's that?
Oh,
Legacy admission and legacy scholarships. So there was an affirmative action court case that happened last year, right, where the Supreme Court said we're no longer supporting affirmative action in college admissions process. This is the first year that, and if you read any of higher education, inside higher ed, you'll see that affirmative action and the stopping of affirmative action at the admission level has impacted the diversity at particularly selective. What that means for legacy is that a lot of schools, including Manhattanville, have pulled back on legacy admission, meaning giving priority reading or priority application review to those that have a legacy affiliation, parents, grandparents, siblings that have gone there, because truthfully, we think that that might be the next court case, and we don't really want to be one of the next examples, right? Everyone's always, trying to figure out what our risk and reward are. So doing that, I anticipate that a lot of schools will not do legacy admission. The majority of times that's really impactful for like a Harvard or a Yale or some of the Ivy League schools. We also are not doing legacy scholarships. However, I will say this, we like to know who our legacy students are. Alumni likes to know who our legacy students are, because if we haven't connected with our alum, it's a great way to do that. But in terms of true legacy admissions, most schools are not doing that. I don't know if I explained that great.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. Yeah. I think those, yeah, no, those are comparable. Again, just the advice would be early, the earlier the better, because there's more space available. That's really it for early action and regular. So the only real advantage would be early decision.
Sometimes the early action is another way for demonstrated interest, though, right? So if you are not ready to be like, early decision is the way to go and I'm ready to commit, early action is a nice way for that demonstrated interest. Maybe your top 3 schools, you might do that.
And just to confirm, you can apply to any school that has early action, so you can apply to 10 schools early action, but with early decision, you can only do 1.
You should apply early action. Am I being filmed? Always here. You should apply early action also because sometimes there are different perks if you do decide to go to that school. Maybe you're part of the first, like we're doing next year, our students will be, that are early action and deposit, will be the first ones to be registered for classes.
And housing sometimes
I
it
was
can
going to say,
affect.
we're
Yeah.
actually doing a housing, we haven't solidified what that is yet, but, you know, selective housing options if you're living on campus. So there are some benefits to applying early action other than demonstrated interest.
Okay, I'm sure there's going to be many more questions and also individualized, so we are happy to work with you. You can call us or email us at any time, and then we can also reach out to Christina and if we have questions from her end. So please feel free to do that, and we'll touch on everything in the meetings as well. We appreciate you all coming tonight. Christina, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us.
I have application fee waivers with me, so if you would like to apply to Manhattanville and waive our $75 fee, feel free to come on up. I have cards too, so if you wanted to reach out to me, you can do that as well.
Okay. Thank you.